Hello, my name is Reverend Mary Huber, pastor of the Community Chapel of Holistic Healing, also known as CCWH. My professional background is that of a registered nurse and I've been retired for about 15 years now from my active work, but I had spent 50 years in nursing before that and was aware of the intimate connection between the spirit of individuals and their physical condition. Therefore, I trained as an ordained minister to address that end of the human condition. Today, I bring you a summary, an overview of some of the principles related to the balance of the physical and spiritual. These were taught to me by Reverend Michelle Luson many years ago. These teachings were always present on earth from ancient times. These were presented in what were known as mystery schools of that day, which were located all over the world. And they were in every culture and in every age. Now, Mark Twain once said, "The two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you found out why." Eventually, all human beings have to come to grips with this very question: who am I? This was so important that the ancient Greeks wrote this over their doorway to their temples, and it read, "Man, know thyself." So the work of finding out about your existence is found to be a critical component for the evolving consciousness. And this is just as important today as ever, probably more so because of the times in which we are living. The change in consciousness is being created by those who are doing this exploration. So in the next slide, you'll see that we begin with the understanding that the human being has two natures, or they're dual. The physical is composed of electromagnetic energy, which is well documented by science, and the spiritual is composed of subatomic energy, which is yet to be discovered by them. Now, it is my understanding that the human vehicle evolved over a very long period of time in such a manner that it was capable of housing a much higher level of energy, which came from spirit. And this spiritual energy is often called by everyone as the soul. Now, it is the right relationship or the alignment of the spiritual and physical vehicles which results in a harmonious and peaceful existence. It is considered that we have as our composition not only a physical form, but also an emotional system, a mental system, as well as the spiritual essence. People often refer to this body as body, mind, and spirit in current literature. And it's become very popular in saying this. And I'm never sure whether people understand what they're actually referring to. So I hope today's overview will help clear this up if you have any questions. Now, there has been a wealth of information on the physical and how to take care of the body through diet, exercise, sleep, and relaxation. And I doubt that few people on the planet have missed this point. A good number of people have been affiliated with some religious or spiritual teachings and are aware of the existence of a superior being, which is often named God or the Absolute or just Creator. Only a percentage of these have come to understand the actual presence of God or the Creator that exists within and is called the I Am presence. And every human being, regardless of their status or station or even their behavior, can exist only with the divine presence within. However, once this is even partially understood, then people find the sacredness of life and of all life. Now, the awakening process is occurring in more people in this lifetime than in any other lifetime of civilizations on the planet. And in the next slide, we'll look at what does it mean to awaken. Very often, this comes about due to a very big need to question life and the value of life and the reason for life. It can be a small matter or a crisis that brings an individual to this point. It can be even just a curiosity. Actually, these people are asking that original question: who am I and why am I here? Now, what I know is that each person is truly a unique design created by the individual's own I am presence, with great care, great detail, and incomparable love. Once an individual can see that they're not just a body and a lot of emotions walking around, but are really pure spirit which exists eternally, some of this might begin to make more sense. We come from spirit, and when this life is finished, we go back. And the purpose for our being was outlined and even explained before we entered. Due to many circumstances, our soul decided on where we were to be placed on the planet, who were our parents, our place of birth, our ethnicity, and even our genetic wiring. And it would not make any sense if all of this was not in the framework of reincarnation, which is the return of the individual soul in various time frames and, of course, various body forms in which to live in that lifetime. Now, this becomes more evident when somebody really digs deep within and looks at all of the inequities of life and tries to figure out how in the world all of this would make sense if a single lifetime was all that we ever had. Actually, we were given a specific mission for each lifetime to accomplish. It's our goal. It's our reason to be in existence. And for each of us, it is different. While we will find similarities with other people in certain areas, the specifics are ours alone. Now, we were set up with strengths in our makeup, which will offset the weaknesses which we are to overcome. God is pure love and loves us with that same purity. The intention is for us to find a way to overcome any obstacles, and while doing so, exhibit the understanding of the fairness of life and hold a more positive attitude toward it all. The variety of circumstances and the obstacles to handle give us the challenges which our spirit needs to grow and evolve. And along the way, if we can see life as being fair and the world as being good, there should be also a considerable amount of enjoyment and pleasure for us to experience on the planet. I have heard somewhere that from someone, they use the expression that the earth or the world is a free will zone. I think that explains it very well. And maybe in the next slide, We can talk about the existence of the part that we have is our choice in life. We can choose to do or not to do. We can choose to find God or not find God. We can choose to evolve or not in any lifetime. There is a higher plan for our existence and for being in human form. It is actually exciting to explore this. It does take a lifetime to accomplish our mission, and the allotted time span takes into account the varieties of the experience and the circumstances which will be presented to us. Some people accomplish what they have come to do in a shorter period of time than others. Now, let's address here a little bit about the soul's presence in the body. It might answer the question, where is the soul? The soul is the enlivening energy for the body. The human being or the human body does not exist without it. When the soul leaves the body, death occurs of the physical. The spirit or soul simply returns to the higher dimension of reality. Now, when it does enter the physical form, it attaches to the neurological system. It initially attaches to 3 specific spinal areas, the cervical, thoracic, and lumbar areas, and then sets up chakras along the spine. It's very much hardwired into the central nervous system. The chakras are energy centers created by the soul for a specific purpose, which is the same for each human being. They're not, the variety doesn't occur here from person to person. It is the way the soul operates in the body. However, because of the neurological connections to the soul that the soul actually can and does relate to us through our immune system and through our endocrine system. So the soul is present in every cell, in every molecule of us in our bodies. Most people now also are familiar, because of the chakras, that the chakras and that energy system of the neurological system sets up other lines of energy known as meridian lines of energy. And you hear this mostly in the Eastern traditions of acupuncture and acupressure. And these are very important, by the way, in how the soul does relate to the body, this whole setup. Now, the next slide will show us the chakra system as we normally see it lined up. This is Michelle's drawing that she made. This is called the spirit. She called it the spiritual anatomy, and we all possess this. The chakra system is seen usually in the body as 7 spiritual centers. There are more chakra centers that are not seen because they exist in a different dimension, and they do align lower than are these and higher than these. But we mainly, we're talking about the physical and the human being. We're really referring to these particular ones, and there's 7. And the chakra centers are also usually have a color assigned to them, and very similar to the rainbow colors. And this is due to the change in frequencies which each possess, from a lower to a higher. And it follows the colors. The lower centers of the chakras have slower moving, what they call wheels of energy, and the crown chakra has the highest frequency with many, they call them petals in India, of frequency. And this system did come to us originally from ancient India. They knew the energies very, very well and very familiar. As a matter of fact, the caduceus is based on this understanding, and it's used by medicine as a symbol for healing. It's understanding that the base chakra at the very bottom of the spine, of the spinal column, is the seat of energy, which when the individual begins to start their awakening process, the energy contained there will start to rise up the column and energize various spiritual centers. It doesn't go bing, bing, bing up the center, as you would think. It'll go to the next, the third, the fourth, the fifth. It energizes the ones that the soul knows that need to be opened at that time. So not all of them begin by just being awakened like that. So there are needs for the soul to experience, or the physical person to experience certain things, and the energies that are created by the chakras will bring those experiences to them. And that's why those are aligned by higher demands, not by our own demand. So now the chakra system, of course, overlays the physical spinal column and spinal fluid. It is the invisible to us subatomic energy of spirit. So that's how we're relating to it, but they're aligned together. In this, the next slide, we see a quick reference to the function of each of these. And we'll begin on the left. At the bottom, it says the root chakra. And it's really to grounding and stabilizing us. Its spirit has anchored itself there, and it will stay rooted there until we leave, because it's needed for our connection of us to the planet. So that's our connection to the earth. And it's very important that people understand the need to be grounded. So that comes from the root system. Now, connecting to Michelle's overlaying of this with the glands. She noticed that it's overlays glands. So where the Indian system, Cole, had all of these other names for the chakras, our system just names them according to the glands that they overlay. Now, they're not the same thing, but they do have a correspondence in what the spiritual energy is sending to the glands. So the next chakra up is, in Michelle's terminology, it had a dual nature. A lot of things have the dual energies in them. And she called this the pancreas spleen chakra, because it was, your pancreas is to maintain you in the world, really in how you're dealing with your nutrition and staying, alive. And in the spleen energy, not necessarily the spleen itself, but the spleen energy that comes there, has to do with the rejuvenation ability that you have. It comes in through that chakra. Now, the next chakra up is the solar plexus, and the big solar plexus complex of nerve energies. I was always taught in nursing school was called the second brain of the body, because it has the greatest complex of nerves outside of the brain. And the solar plexus, also, she had that coupled with the adrenal. So solar plexus, adrenal was that chakra. And the function of the solar plexus is to manifest. It's like the sun, it shines. It was the center of creation, of creativity, and it still is in the system. You see the great big plates that the priests of old wore over, gold plates that they wore over their solar plexus. It was to protect the solar plexus, but also to show the manifestation of the sun that occurs through you. Your manifestation comes out there. Now, the adrenal, which was not acknowledged in the ancient days necessarily, but it certainly has been a very important part of the evolving person, has been the adrenal, because that has, the adrenal gland is fight or flight. And most people have learned that in high school even. The adrenal chakra is there to protect. It protects us from our outside world and from influences that could come in. So that's the function at that level. And those are the lower chakras. The upper chakras begin with the heart. It actually is the center place where the chakra, where the energies cross over. It's a great synthesizer. You have 3 chakras above, 3 chakras below, and everything above flows through the heart chakra, and everything below comes through again, and on its way up will form this figure 8 around the body. It always goes through the heart. It's not just the expression of love, it is the synthesizer of the higher and lower energies in our body. And it's a great the place where we go for our really good information. When we are listening to our heart, we're listening to a different level than our brain is showing us. So the heart chakra is extraordinarily important. That also connects us to the universal heart, comes in there. It is also said that the silver cord that connects us to our I am presence is based in the heart. And it's a silver cord that goes all the way up to the I am presence. And that's how that cord is wired into us. It doesn't go to the base chakra, it comes to the heart. This is the lowest of the higher chakras. Then the one above that is the thyroid, or the center of will, hugely powerful and center, where this is where we get our empowerment, but it also is where we get our choices from. And the choosing of our life is, and how we want to conduct ourselves in life. This center is so important. This is the minor center in the body that looks down. This is what sort of, you have to envision this. This chakra looks down to see how everything is going below it. Is the alignment happening? Is the grounding happening? Is the evolvement? Is the attitude better? Is all of that better? And once it sees that we have our lower chakras in alignment, it turns and signals to the crown chakra, we're ready to move on spiritually. Each person has to go through this process in order to get into their higher levels of self. Then you can get into the pituitary. Once this is settled, the minor controller of the physical form is the thyroid, and this is also of the spiritual stem. So once you go and get everything lined up, then the pituitary, which is usually seen as being the place in between the eyebrows. That's where we focus for that, because we don't know, we can't find the gland in our head. But the pituitary is where we get to know and understand. The pituitary opens up our intuition. Intuition is seeking the mind of God. What is the higher self saying? And developing that, it has to do with having all of these other things calm down. This is why going into meditation to develop our intuition is very important, that we calm ourselves down, that we get everything settled before this can even begin to open and see clearly what has to be seen. This is our third eye. We can see what needs to be seen. We can see what to do. So then after the pituitary has been developed enough, Michelle has always said that the crown chakra is God's. We don't do anything with it. God decides when that opens. God decides. Anything about our crown chakra has to do with our I am presence within. So that's kind of a little quick overview of what the chakras do in our system. That's why they're developed by our higher level of self. That's why they were designed to be put in the human, because spirit and has to communicate through the physical. And this is how it all happens. There's much more to this, but this was my quick overview for you. So it's a unique study. And in Michelle's system, I think we have another slide that comes up that talks about Michelle and her system. The next slide will show you that She uses this information from a higher source, and she identified the three major centers of the body as the thyroid, adrenal, and pancreas. That kind of says it all in there. And in her system of creative wellness, these function in very unique ways. They have a sort of a line, a direct line of energy in a certain configuration. And it gives certain performances. And that's why she said personality affects your health, because these are the three systems of the chakras and that are guiding us along the way. And each of us has a vulnerability in one of them. This is what we came to overcome, so to speak. And it's really a very important part of what she teaches, is how you find that out, and then how can you help yourself with it. It's really a wonderful self-help program. There will be a class coming up in this, and I hope that when you see that it's available, that you will avail yourself of it. Now, on the next slide, we talk about harmony and balance, because this is what this is all about. We know that anything that is in alignment works better, a car or machinery or anything. It's so true in our physical form, in all of these systems that we have, the body, mind, emotions, and spirit. When they're in alignment, everything is going to work better. And this is a worthwhile pursuit. There are universal laws that govern everything in existence, and harmony and balance are the important components in those laws. It's very important to know that the universal laws govern everything that exists and are actually, in fact, neutral. They work all the time. Depending on what you input to it, you get what you out of it, what you put into it. So when they're applied correctly, that you get good results. When we violate them in some way, one reaps that as well. So what we put out to others or from ourselves comes back to us. It goes out in sort of an elliptical route. You send it out, it comes right back. So as one philosopher said, God does not punish us. We simply reap the result of our choices and our actions. So this is what is being meant by the law is neutral. So I really can't finish a talk about our place in the world without looking about our place in nature. And if the next slide shows you a little bit of the smatterings of the various possibilities, our physical form is directly related to the physical world. So the physical world is made up of the animal, vegetable, and mineral, and so are we. This is the physical body that we inhabit. And because of this correspondence and direct relationship, we can go to nature and it will aid in our healing and our alignment. And this has many dimensions to it. So then again, this is another more involved topic, but it's just that using the products of nature, being in nature, this is all very helpful to us. We know this, we've all experienced it. And it has the products of nature, everything. This is well known that the herbals, the treatments and the herbal things that have been developed through the centuries by people who know about herbs for healing, that's been an ancient times, and that's all they had for medicine, but they worked because nature will come to our aid. And even in other times, gemstones were used in various ways in the ancient world for healing various ailments, and apparently worked, or they wouldn't have continued to use them, I would hope. So everything that is in nature is living and relating to God and has a wonderful relationship with God. And it's a very inspiring thing for our spirit to be in nature, to see the beauty and the balance there. And it helps us in that way as well. today's world, science has allowed us to understand this better than the ancients did, because they just knew, trial and error. They tried it out and it worked, so they used it. But science now even knows about frequencies and vibrations that everything gives off. And we know that even if you're not ingesting it, that nature has that relationship with us that science is now allowing us to know about because of their experimentations and their advanced knowledge with the different machineries and things that they've developed. So we know that this is happening, even when we just intuitively know. Now we know it really is a fact. Now, in our next slide, the spiritual, those are the physical things that we would do on the other slide. And this is about the spiritual strategies and prayer, affirmations, positive affirmations that are well designed. There are those that are just kind of sing-songy, and those that are more deep affirmations. It doesn't matter, as long as they're positive. It's important that we learn some affirmations that would help us along in life to stay up and buoyant, and with that view that life is still good. Meditation is so critical. It's one of the original techniques given way back in most ancient times for us to align with spirit. That was a technique that was given, the very first one. And sacred imagery. The topic of imagery I will address later in a different program, because that's important. That's very powerful, very important that we understand the images that we hold. And I will have to give this salute to Saint Germain, who has been working with the violet colored. It's called the violet flame because you see it, psychics see it as a sort of a scintillating, moving thing. It looks almost like fire, but it's actually a vibrating energy. It's highest frequency of light that we can get from the outside of the planet. It's the highest level that we have. And this is being sent in great abundance right now for us to grab hold of, because it's the energy of loving kindness and forgiveness that he has been promoting for us to use, to think about it, to be with it in meditation, so that we can clear ourselves now of some of these less desirable attributes that we may still be lingering with, or attitudes or whatever, and that will help bring us, and it will also bring us into alignment with other people, because this is the forgiveness, the wonderful, loving forgiveness that we give to ourselves and to everyone, and to life itself, actually. So that loving kindness that comes through that is very powerful. Now, our next slide. I like to point this out because when people start looking at doing something for themselves, their self-appraisal can be off. It can be too harsh. It can be too lenient on themselves. And it's the caution here is to be more realistic. But the most important thing is to take responsibility. Once you find something to do that's going to benefit you in a very positive way, it would take responsibility and pursue it, and don't dabble. Don't give it up, but take the responsibility to keep it going. And this is important because this comes up in a lot of spiritual literature. It's when we assign ourselves to the role of the victim, and the victim being the one that says, I have no power, I can't do anything, everybody's impacting me, or circumstances, or I can't get ahead in life because of whatever. Don't be the victim, because that is a very, very weak place to come from, and it only draws more problems. It's a negative view of self. So the most important thing is take responsibility, get into your positive thinking, and stay with it, even if it doesn't seem very likely to you at the time, but it's important stay positive and just be above it, knowing that you have this, every weakness you have a strength to meet it. God did not leave you without that. Each of us has been given that. So going on to the next slide, we will look at what is, we have the Holy Grail. What is the Holy Grail? It's never been a cup because it was a symbolic representation. We are the cup. The Holy Grail is finding our higher self, the God within, and developing our relationship to God in such a way that we are in alignment with God's will and God's purpose for us being there. And that is the Holy Grail. So I want you to find it, and you will be greatly rewarded. And thank you so much. If you want more information, I hope you will go to our website to see what else we have in line for our classes and our chapel services. And if you have any questions, please just send a note to info@ccwh.com. Thank you so much.